Welcome back to Business AM. You are watching Metropole Television. We are live on Facebook, YouTube at Metropole TV KE. You can talk to us, hashtag Business AM. Wow, I wasn't doing the show yesterday, and so a lot of things happened in between. I've been telling my colleagues how it's very cheap for you to get avocados from Kisii, and pretty much how the transportation goes. It will take you around 200 shillings or 500 shillings to transport a bag from Kisii all the way to Nairobi, and that's why you're saying in Nairobi it will tail at around 3,000 shillings, because if you got it at 800 shillings, take 500 shillings, transport it, then you're actually running into a profit of 1,100 shillings. This is good money. Businesses that are really now shaping up, and the thing is, but how are we going to enhance the Kisii farmers business that is into avocado, therefore to raise them to the level that it's worth exporting? And you know though that the way in which our agriculture sector is based in the country, you're going to get surprised that some of the commodities that you consume in your house, they're not local commodities, they're actually imported commodities. You don't believe me? Ask your trader where they get their eggs from. Ask your trader whether whatever they're selling you is local mangoes. Ask your trader whether the maize that you're taking to the granary or to your posho mill is local. Things are, it's not. Chances are high chances. Good question to think about this morning. Okay, we're joined by Enock and Washington so that we can go through some of the major issues that we're waking up to this morning. So gentlemen, even before we go to what we have prepared there, something that is really standing out is that now it's actually now unlawful. That's what KEPSA and the president are telling us, that as of from May, it's going to be unlawful that if you give services to a farm and then they unjustifiably fail to pay within the 30 days that is now agreed within the 2019-2020 budget, it's going to be unlawful. And they're going to be fined 10 million shillings. Or the CEO of that company will go in for a minimum 5 years jail term. And do you think this is the way to go?
Considering that the president has been pushing for, of course, the pending bills to be cleared,
yes,
it is a good way to go. But I still don't know whether that is hinged in law.
Yes.
But it's a good thing, because one of the things that is making SMEs and startups struggle currently is the fact that you render a service or you supply a good to an entity and they take forever to pay you.
Yes.
And the moment you have long outstanding bills that have not been paid, you of course you will have a challenge such servicing other clients.
Yes.
And it's good that if we can be able to have that in law, such that people are paid within a given period, or within a period even which they have agreed in the contract, that can be able to work magic for the businesses.
Yes, Washington is a good thing, just like Enock is saying, that's really fine. But if you look at the way KEPSA chair is looking at it, there's just one clause in that, whatever they're trying to push for, unjustifiably, meaning that a company can come and justify as to why they're not paying for the services. Should we make it mandatory, therefore, that you can't ask for a service, you can't ask for a supply without first thinking, oh, you're going to pay on it? Because now, when you say unjustifiably, then companies will come and justify as why they can't pay for it.
Yeah, well, and that's, I think, has been on. You see, companies have actually gone bankrupt.
Yes.
Waiting for money to get paid. And I think it's a good thing that people actually get paid on the spot.
Yes.
Or rather, within the period that they've agreed. If it's a 30-day credit period, let them at least within the 30 days. Because you see, whoever is supplying the service needs the money also to take care of their bills, so to speak. I mean, it's a cycle. You expect that money, you pay someone else, you pay someone else. You know. I mean, that's how the value chain of business. That's how business works. You know. So if you find someone breaking his promise along the way, then you even have companies going under, and they're not going under because of anything else, just because it's maybe, how you can say, maybe a rogue player along the way. You know. And I think it's a way of instilling financial discipline. It's a way of making actually even the economy grow.
Yes.
Because come to look at it, if, I mean, you say an economy is all about circulation of money. if you withhold money, there's something that goes on, I think, on social media, you know, where someone walks into a hotel. It's a tourist and he pays 3,000 shillings to the cashier. The cashier takes the same money and pays the butcherman 3,000 shillings,
yes.
a bill that he had. The butcherman takes the same money and pays his power bill. Then, you know, it circulates. By the time the tourist or the guest goes to the hotel, checks the rooms, by the time he comes back within something like 15 minutes, the money has circulated so much. He comes back and says, hey, but I don't like these rooms, by the way. Can I get back my money? But within that particular period, there's so much that has happened with the money.
Yes.
That's the same concept you're talking about here. The moment money is released to the person who's supposed to get it, then the money circulates and the business happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just wanted to touch on some small issue again. This is not getting done anytime soon. We were waiting for the betting companies last week. I think around Wednesday or Tuesday at 2:30 p.m. to go for a meeting with the government and really try and resolve this issue on betting in the country. Guess what? We didn't get the minutes. We didn't get the deliberations on the meeting. We didn't even get notified that there was supposed to be that sort of a meeting the next day at 2:30 p.m. because we saw the Senate and the members of Parliament now coming in to support the betting companies in this country, which was quite a turnaround from what we expected, Enoch. But guess what? Sims Kiage defied a court order from High Court, stopping them from telling the betting and licensing board in the country to cancel the licenses of the 27 betting farms in the country.
You see, Simba, I think we've talked about the betting companies severally.
Yes.
And what is coming out clearly is that there has been unfairness from the side of the government on how they have treated this industry called betting.
Yes.
How the licenses were cancelled, how quick the cancellation was done, how quick the directives were issued, right from KRA and the other government agencies, showed some ulterior motives from the side of the government, especially the Ministry of Interior,
yes,
on how they wanted to handle the betting companies. And until we know exactly why this was happening, we can always continue speculating. But I can tell you again and confidently, this has nothing to do with payment of taxes. It has much more issues that probably we are not privy to, other than the issue of payment of taxes.
Yes.
Because some of them have actually gotten back their licenses and they're operating. And some of the big players that we expected to have their licenses, considering issues of compliance at that level, they still don't have their licenses.
Yes.
So unless someone comes out clearly and tells us why really those licenses were cancelled,
yes,
we can always continue speculating.
Washington, here's the thing though. You know, it baffles everybody watching this drama unfold within the economy. If you had a court order stopping you from cancelling your licenses in the economy, should have been the first thing that the betting companies did when we realized that 27 licenses have been cancelled, run back to court. And then the case begins, because that's due process. I mean, once your license has been cancelled, we expect that you go back to the same court that issued this court order to say, well, your court order has not been respected.
That's right.
Why didn't we say that?
Well, there are so many factors. You see, in the first place, the moment you're told that, that you're not supposed to operate, and it's already from the courts, there's already an element of suspicion. You don't actually, even you as a player, you don't know actually what is going on.
Yes.
You know? So there's a lot of caution, you as a player, because you see, as a businessman, the last thing you need is to rattle the government, so to speak. You know? Because if you go to court, I mean, we know the executive holds sway so much over the judiciary and stuff.
Yes.
You know, and that's why the government is able to ignore court decisions with impunity. You know, the government just acts. But in this particular case, I think just like my friend has said here, something that we should be told what exactly is happening around these betting companies.
Yes.
And there's even rumors, or rather social media, they are saying maybe they're refusing to license these betting companies so that someone up there can take over the same.
We can't run away from that.
We cannot rule out anything.
At this point, because they're not receiving any concrete communication, then we are allowed to think in that direction, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, a society has to think. Can't stop people from thinking.
Yes.
And something else, Simba, that you have to look at the Jubilee government and how they have handled court orders over time.
Yes.
Remember, one person was deported, a Kenyan was deported, against several court orders. The Attorney General then was actually in court the other day arguing that the government should obey court orders, and it's the same AG was in office when they were disobeying a court order after another.
Court order was disobeyed.
So that kind of impunity, the courts have done their bit in terms of issuing court orders, and that's all they can do. But in terms of enforcement, that is where we've had a challenge.
Yes.
Because the police were supposed to enforce some of these court orders. The government officers who are supposed to obey these court orders are doing otherwise. And it's a very sad state.
Yes.
That I cannot get a court order today and trust the government to obey, or even private citizens to obey the court orders. Yes.
Interesting times, isn't it? Let's just move over to something that we've seen happen again in Uhuru's regime. We're talking about economic zones. Didn't start with Uganda, didn't start with Sudan. Guess what? China now is getting that. Now a Chinese firm is angling for the proposed 250 billion shillings Lamu Special Economic Zone project that could cement the Asian nation's dominance on Kenya's infrastructure deals. Now, the National Treasury said that the three principal secretaries will hold the key to a decision on whether or not the proposed multi-billion shillings project will be handed to the Chinese firm. Now, the government says it has received a privately initiated investment proposal from China Merchants Port Group Company Limited for development of the Lam SEZ. The privately initiated investment proposal has three components that include, number one, the construction and management of the of Lamu Port, two, refurbishment of the berths 11 to 14 of the port of Mombasa, and number three, future investment of berths 23 of the port of Mombasa and development of new Lamu industrial city. That's fine. On paper, it looks good. But Enoch, I just want to start with you this morning. Just the other day, Uganda was awarded an inland port. Just before the dust settled on it, now Sudan got another. Just before we see exactly how this goes, this company is also getting one. We're calling it special economic zones. But this is a word that has kept on, has been thrown around again. We do also have the Konza special development zone. I just want you to tell me, what is the government really trying to get from this?
Okay, I want to separate the two issues. The first issues on Uganda and Sudan.
Yes.
We were basically trying to entice them to actually use our SGR.
Yes.
Because remember, we've had challenges getting financing for the SGR from Naivasha to Kisumu and all the way to the border.
Yes.
So what the president and of course the executive have decided to do is to entice these governments to come and set up in Naivasha, where we have our big inland port, so that then they can be able to do their customs clearance at that point.
Yes.
So all the goods coming from Mombasa can move in through the SGR, get cleared at the inland port, and then they can be able to move to those countries. So that's a separate issue. Now, on the issue of the special economic zones, remember, these things are actually hinged in our Vision 2030. And the only way we can be able to develop as a country currently is to be able to focus on such projects. Not just the special economic zones, even the industrial zones, which are being set up currently.
Yes.
So we want, of course, to be able to see how we can be able to have value addition in our products. We want to see how we can be able to, of course, be able to interact with the countries that surround us.
Yes.
And these special economic zones come in handy. And the Lamu port is one of the major projects, which of course we expect to be able to have an impact of creating more than 1 million jobs once it's completed, of course, together with the LAPSET. So it's a good project, of course, not forgetting that, of course, it's expensive.
Yes.
But it's a direction that we want to go as a country.
Yes.
As we focus on infrastructure, let's look for a way we can be able to excite foreign investors to come and invest in the country.
That's really fine. And Washington, I'm really coming to you. That's really fine. But I want you to look at the other side as well. Are we allowed to look at the other side and say, yes, this is a Chinese firm? I mean, if you look at the way in which we approach our infrastructure projects in the country, I mean, China takes more than 90%.
And I'm happy with that.
Are you happy with that?
I'm completely happy with
Like,
that. I'll tell you why.
Yeah, well, and don't you see that over-reliance on a nation when it comes to your development projects give them more power to determine exactly what happens in the economy?
This is the challenge, Simba.
Yes.
Local companies cannot even build a toilet, a simple toilet.
Have we been told they cannot because they are complaining?
They can't, and I can tell you why they can't.
Yes.
The kind of financing arrangements we have locally
Yes.
cannot be able to allow local companies to be able to compete with the Chinese. The Chinese actually have a bank called Exim Bank, which fully finances projects.
Yes.
That is why all Chinese projects in the country are completed within schedule and successfully.
Yes.
And for me as a Kenyan, all I want is a complete project. I don't want stalled projects.
Yes.
We've had local companies building a road for more than 5 or 6 years. And we've had Chinese companies doing bypasses within a very short time and quality roads.
Yes.
So we don't really care who does the project. What we want to see is within the arrangement of the project, we want to see how local companies can be able to benefit.
Yes.
And for us, we want the infrastructure.
Washington, I just want to bring you in really quick on this. And it doesn't see any other side that, again, this is a Chinese project, again, that we are actually supporting.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a special economic zone. And they're telling us that, well, some of this construction project you're going to see here, but, you know, we do know that in special construction zones, what we are basically doing is reducing the cost of setting up these projects. That's what it really means. So that now, once they come in and they invest, yes, then later on, we can spur economic development from this special zone. But don't forget that we have projects that have looked like this. Let's talk about the SGR. That exactly right now looks to give us nothing neither here nor there. Yes, would you believe that therefore, that this special economic zone is the way to go? And I want you to respond this in relation to Chinese investment again.
Well,
It's China.
Yeah, Mr. Simba.
Yes.
Chinese investment in this country is not really bad.
Would you say that?
Do you know how to say that?
Yes.
We've had development money. This country has been given development money in the past by other countries.
Yes.
Like in Europe, America. Actually, we had the other day that America is coming to make the Mombasa highway.
Yes. Yes.
You know, from Mombasa to Nairobi.
Yes.
But you see, the difference between the Chinese money and any other kind of money is that it doesn't come hedged with anything.
Yes.
No, doesn't give you conditions. For example, like in terms of politics, like you have to improve your democracy or whatever, something. They don't even meddle. For example, if the Chinese come to build a road, they're coming to build a road. It's only now, just like you said, that the government is allowing too many Chinese into the country.
Yes.
That is not very, very good for us.
Yes.
But in terms of bringing money strictly for development purposes, the Chinese are good. And also remember, I really respect whatever came out of Vision 2030. You know, all the development projects for the Vision 2030 were well thought out, and it was a special like baby for the former president.
Yes.
Kibaki. The former president Kibaki did things with a lot of forethought.
Yes.
And for the good of the country, to take us to the next level of development.
Yes.
To be even a first world, maybe by by 2030. You know, I believe everything that is coming out of that of Vision 2030 is good. And that is why you remember, even when our president took over, Uhuru, the only thing was this, that everything has been set up for the country.
Yes.
The only thing you have to do is implement.
Yes.
Don't think outside Kenya Vision 2030.
Yes. And I still want to belabor this point, because if you look at how the government is approaching the Konza city special zones, they've been given priority to local investors. Let them bring in, because we want this investment to stay within. But when you have a foreign investment and you're giving them a special economic zone, you have to factor in the point that at some time, for some time, when these projects are running, you're not getting fully everything that comes out of this investment. Because yes, at some point before you go 100%, some money still goes out of the economy. Shouldn't have we started with local investment? Because we have projects, then why can't we first give priority to local investments first before going China?
No, I think we have to look at the size of the project,
Yes,
and the kind of expertise we have locally. For projects like the Special Economic Zone,
yes,
like the SGR, and so many other projects that the Chinese have undertaken in this country, locally we do not have the kind of expertise that can be able to execute such projects. We do not even have the kind of financing that can be able to execute those projects. Look around the country, Simba.
Amid complaints from local people within the economy that we could have done this.
No. I can be able to sell as Furia in
Yes.
Gikomba.
Yes.
That I can. And the moment I find a Chinese selling as Furia, I'll complain. I can be able to put up a 2-kilometer road.
Yes.
That I can. I can be able to put up a 6-story building. That I can. And if I see a Chinese doing that, I'll definitely complain. But setting up SGR, setting up a 250 billion project, that really, we still do not have the kind of expertise locally that can be able to execute those projects.
Yes.
And when we are doing these kind of projects, we have to think long term. Because even if someone is coming, it's build and operate, it will not be forever. At one point, these projects will be handed back to the
Yes.
nation.
Yes.
That is why we still support the issue of toll stations on roads.
Yes.
If people can be able to be given roads to build privately, even the countries like the UK are doing that, then we pay a fee to use the roads of a given period, so be it. For us, what we want is infrastructure. We want a road going to Magena deeper in Kisii,
Yes.
so that the people who have avocados there can be able to bring them to the road and sell those avocados. We really don't care who puts up that road. We want the road.
You see, Simba,
Yes.
To add on to what my friend is saying, the biggest problem with this country is this. People, just like you're saying, we have the expertise,
Yes.
but the biggest problem is corruption. You know, look at simple things. We have roads engineers in this country. What exactly happens? People do shoddy work. They come play around with some gravel and tire and whatever.
Yes.
Within 6 months, the same road is worse than it was.
Yes.
You know, you see that these guys who didn't have done a better job, they've been to school. You know, but the biggest problem is corruption. When the money comes in, you start greasing palms instead of doing the job. And at the end of the day, what happens? You go out and get expertise. And right now, people have seen the Chinese are doing a good work. You know, if the Chinese are doing a good work, let them come and do it. We do not need projects just for the sake of projects. We need quality projects, and the money is there.
Okay.
And how I wish the Chinese had been given the Aurora and Kimaruri Dam.
Yeah.
That would have been a complete project by now.
Something to think about, isn't it? All right, I just want us to move over closely to another good conversation point this morning. Now, Kenya has for the first time bought more than she sold to African countries in a half-year period, signaling continued dwindling competitiveness of her products on the continent. Now, trade deficit in Africa, the gap between imports and exports stood at 156 million shillings, marking the first time Nairobi has run a deficit since the Central Bank of Kenya started to publicly keep trade records in 1999, gentlemen. Now, data from the Kenya Revenue Authority show total exports in 6 months through to June dropped 1.69% to 107.55 billion compared with a year ago, higher than the 0.9% imports of 107.71 billion. Now, a higher growth in imports than exports, economics say, denies Kenya an opportunity to create more jobs because local firms lose out to foreign markets and factories and traders. Let's stop with that. The government is really trying to push manufacturing. And so even when we talk about exports, you will say that agriculture, which is the greatest contributor to our GDP, should be the leading. But funny enough, even if you go to the trade deficit between us and Uganda, you'll also, which is our highest trade partner in EAC, you'll also try and see that since 2018, it's been also on a downward trend. So I know when you look at these factors like this, what will you point out is not really happening when it comes to our import and export deficit within the economy?
You see, Simba,
Yes.
you would expect a country like Kenya, which is the biggest economy in East and Central Africa,
Yes.
to be able to be competitive enough when it comes to trade relations within the countries in that
Yes.
region.
Yes.
And you would expect that our exports will be much higher than what we import from these countries. But the statistics is showing something different. And it goes down to how we've been set up as a country for the last 7 or so years.
Yes.
We've become, the products that we have locally have become, they have become uncompetitive in the market over and over again. And two of the things that probably have put us in this position, one is that these countries, Uganda, Tanzania, and the other countries, have realized that the products they're getting from Kenya, they can be able to actually manufacture them in their countries.
Yes.
And another thing is that we've had an issue with the East African Common Protocol where we still have issues of levies, taxes within the country that makes our products not competitive
Yes.
in the market.
Yes.
So if we can not be able to focus on manufacturing, focus on having a product in Kenya that can be able to easily be sold in Uganda and the other countries, we are lost as a country.
Washington, the government will look at it and say, well, it's when we are really trying to spur development of our sectors within the economy. But if you look at the way in which we've even approached the 2019-2020 budget, I just want us to even start at the most, because we're getting there. The way in which we sort of spread tax waivers across the economy. Now, capital gains tax, it has more than doubled. We are now talking about 12.5% from 5% just a year ago. Look, tax waivers have only gone to some of the sectors that we know. Now, if you're running a recycling company within the economy, then your business is good. If you're running a company that assembles motherboards, then your economy is. But if you look at your tax has been taken out. If you look at the most integral areas, let's talk even about agriculture. Do you think that we are supporting it enough because it's coming out from these numbers now?
Well, look at, I think the biggest problem with this country,
Yes.
everything just revolves around corruption.
Yes.
Look at what is working right now in the agriculture sector right now. Our coffee has been killed. Our coffee sector has been killed.
Senator here and all that, isn't it?
Well,
yeah. I mean, if you look at what the president is doing, he just gave 3 billion shillings for payments for farmers who've been waiting them forever.
True.
So when you
see.
actually give a grant to a sector within agriculture, then you're actually saying this is a dead one. I'm just trying to make it come up.
You see, the thing that used to work in this country.
Yes.
Actually, in the agriculture sector, let's start from what's working. There's absolutely almost nothing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's why even importing eggs, of all things. Number 2, what's the biggest problem with this country?
Yes.
The price of production, the inputs into producing whatever is produced in this country in agriculture is way too high than what happens in our neighboring countries.
Yes.
And why is it happening like that? Because the government actually is not even coming out to do even what we call protection of our farmers. Look at a country like the US. You don't just sell agricultural stuff into America. It protects its farmers. If the climate is not favorable for a particular year, they are given grants for them to keep. I mean, they don't go bankrupt. The government takes money, gives to the farmers so they can keep on running. What happens in this country?
Yes.
Instead of giving grants or even encouraging our farmers, they are telling them, don't plant maize, so to speak.
Yes. Then
along the way, here maize is being imported because they always vested interest in whatever is happening in this country.
Yes.
The narrative needs to change. And I mean, it's not even rocket science that the kind of trend that we're having in this country, that the issue of imports and exports would have gone the other way around.
Yes.
Instead of being an exporter,
yes,
no, you're a net importer. What more tragedy do you expect in this economy?
And I just want to bring you in this sense. Kenya was among the first nations in Africa to ratify the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We were really excited that finally we have 1 billion people within Africa to sell to. Do you think that yes, just by us ratifying the deal and being fully behind it. Do you think this is going to change the narrative in terms of exports and imports?
No, it won't really change.
Then what we need to do
it will actually
right
make
now,
it worse,
yes,
because if we can't compete within our region,
yes,
within the East African community,
yes,
we cannot compete within Africa, because more companies, more countries are focused so much on agriculture than actually us. You will be surprised how many products will come from North Africa and from West Africa,
yes,
that we cannot be able to compete within the market. What has happened for the last 7 years is we've had an executive that has focused on channeling monies where they can be able to steal it from.
Yes.
Channeling monies in projects where it's easy to be able to get it out.
Yes.
And agriculture has taken a backseat. We've not seen so much focus on agriculture. Remember, we are the same country that imports sugar left, right, and center.
Yes.
We import maize left, right, and center. Things that we should be able to have locally.
So sustain, isn't it?
Sustain locally.
Yes.
So the president, the way he's done with Rivertex and the rest, he needs just to forget about this whatever big four agenda,
yes,
about housing, and focus on the real issues that affect Kenyans, and that is agriculture, and see how within a very short time we can be able to have a turnaround in these projects, including investing in the farmers,
yes,
and ensuring that the products we have are of high quality and at a very low production cost, so that we can be able to compete.
Yes. Yes. I just want us to talk briefly about this next one. I mean, if you look at the way the government is approaching this issue, is that we do expect this to get more and more taxed. Now, there's a Nairobi resident, you're going to tell me your comment, and then after that we clear on this. Wants cigarette smoking to be banned in Kenya in a suit filed at the High Court. One, Mohammed Ibrahim has faulted the governor for allowing production, manufacturing, distribution, management, dissemination, and consumption of tobacco in the country, regardless of its effects on health. Let's leave it there. And a quick one. Standing, not standing.
I told you some months back that if we ban betting,
yes,
we need to ban cigarettes,
yes,
and beer,
yes,
and every single thing,
yes,
that we feel has a negative effect,
yes,
in our society.
Yes.
What we've done over time is to regulate these industries. The tobacco industry is well regulated,
yes,
within the law on how they advertise and how the product should be accessed to Kenyans. In
yes,
any case, it is your choice to take a cigarette. Nobody is forcing you.
Yes.
And that is an industry that you cannot just want to kill because of those negative effects. Because we have tobacco farmers,
yes,
we have a whole industry with the employees, and we have consumers who have been warned earlier, yes, that actually this product is harmful.
Yes.
So I really don't think that can...
Washington, I just want two comments really. We're talking about the Africa Container Free Trade Area and what we need to do, and your quick thoughts on this, whether it stands or not, as we close the show this morning.
You see, yes, there's something I wanted to say about the issue of exports and imports.
Yes.
I don't know how we are missing this. There's this very, very important point.
Yes.
The issue of electricity in Kenya. You see, electricity is almost used for, especially like in the manufacturing yes, sector. Yes. Almost in every aspect of an economy, power is very, very important. But why has this country not been able to make power cheaper? You know?
Yes.
Well, they say, like, for example, in the industries, the power is actually cheaper than what we are charged in the domestic.
Yes.
I mean, in terms of domestic use. But it's still way up there, such that the issue of not being able to make power cheaper then affects all the production inputs, yes, that goes into producing any kind of good. Well, let's leave that aside and see what the government, I don't know, just like my friend is saying, I don't know what the government is, they just want to concentrate on they want to throw in money, yes, where they can be able to easily access it, yes, get it.
All right, now, this one stands or not?
This one definitely. I mean, you see, it cannot stand because yeah, the moment you start playing around with things like cigarettes, yes, now it becomes a black market industry.
Aha.
People still need to smoke.
Yes.
People still need to just play around with it. That cigarettes just like, they start being sold underground.
Yes.
And instead of regulating it now, it will become such a booming trade in the black market. The government will be losing actually the taxes they're supposed to get they're going to lose. Well, the government, of course, I don't think it can even allow something like that to pass through anyway.
Pretty much,
because
isn't it?
I mean, look at it.
Yes.
It's your problem. If you want to smoke, that's your problem. If you want to drink,
yes,
there are many other things that should be banned if that's the case.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's always a pleasure to have you on Business AM. All right, guess what? That marks the end of Metropole Review this morning. Now you do know. Follow live this conversation on Twitter, #BusinessAM. You can get a kickback of this conversation on Facebook. That is a Metropole TV Kenya. Also on YouTube, Metropole TV Kenya. Guess what? We take a short break, and once we come back, we are talking about how you can brand that business. Sort of move it from just a business to a brand. Next.